we believe that both sides, the Israelis are the children of Israel, who is a prophet, and also the other side, the Muslims are children of Ishmael. So there has to be compassion, mercy, love between all of them, like a family. What do you think can be done to awake both sides to this reality, and that what can be done to encourage people to turn back to their roots, their religion, to put an end to all that suffering?
Well, first of all, I think that an aspect that has not been given sufficient attention is the role of religion in terms of bridging this divide. Yes, we see the extremism on all sides, in terms of Hamas being a religious culture, but I think in terms of all religions and all peoples who are connected to a religious faith, like particularly the Jews and the Muslims, there's a certain ambivalence. There's room for tolerance, and unfortunately we see too much extremism. But there must be room for accentuating those verses of the Quran, for instance, that show respect for diversity, respect for the dignity of man. In the Jewish tradition, I believe that there's an inherent sense of pluralism, although certainly in my faith, which I'm deeply committed to, there's also elements that can be lead to extremism as well. I think religious leaders can develop a language together. We see certain examples that are not given sufficient attention in the media. Rabbis, imams, Christian leaders that continue to meet. Unfortunately, for instance, a number of activities that I've been involved with simply have not been given sufficient attention in the media. And I think that would be one area, for instance, that highlighting this, particularly in the Middle East, that is so uncertain at the moment.
Yes, Jerry, can we have your comment, please?
Yeah, I want to back up there for a minute. And on the conflict between Israel and Hamas, I've actually got some numbers for you there. That was a poll conducted by the Israel Democracy Institute and Tel Aviv University this week that shows an overwhelming majority of Israelis, which is 79%, backed the government's decision to launch the operation. 84% of them Jewish Israelis, and 47% were Arab Israeli. Support for the what was called Operation Pillar of Defense. It says, and this is from a post in the Jerusalem Post that came out, I believe, the 6th, which is today. So this is a fairly new poll, but it says that support for the Operation Pillar of Defense was not limited to one side of the political map. Israeli Jews from across the political spectrum supported the operation. 74% of people self-identifying with the left, 86% centralists, and 89% right-wing Israelis. But one thing that everything in here has been Israeli or Jewish or Arab Israeli that has been reported here. And one reason I wanted to touch on that was because if we go to the opinion, and there's another an article that came out the 27th of last month, and what it says is that the media, and this goes back to what Mr. Mallow was saying, is that the U.S. news media, I know for sure because I'm here, the U.S. news coverage of the conflict was weighted towards Israel, and it says innumerable times was given to Israel lawmakers, spokespeople, and military representatives with little or no time given to Palestinian lawmakers. The people of Gaza are Arab Israelis. And secondly, and probably the most former, about 60% of Americans sided with the Israelis and with the with the conflict during this because of the news coverage. And the reason that is important is because exactly what was said here. There are meetings going on between religious leaders. There are talks going on between religious leaders, and they're not getting any media time. I know, especially in the U.S., the only thing that they're concentrating on is what's going on politically. They're not looking at what the people are talking about. And quite incidentally, in researching this last night, which I was up most of the night researching this, trying to find any of this information on the web in the U.S. is, I couldn't find anything. I had to go to my Middle East contacts in the Middle East papers to find any of this. So anybody in the Western world that is wanting to find out anything about the conflicts or what's going on or talks or anything else, if they don't know how to go to the Jerusalem Post or the Jordanian Times or to go to any of the Israel newspapers, excuse me, Turkish newspapers and so forth, people here in the United States, Canada, in the Western Hemisphere, they really only get what's coming from the news, from the media. So all they're hearing is the political talks that are going on with Israel. And a lot of that is only what our government is letting them put out because they're afraid of stepping on somebody's toes, I think. But there are a lot of things that are going on that have not been covered, just as was mentioned here. So a lot of this, I think, needs to be brought to the forefront of these talks that are going on. And the people that are, I mean, when you look at the poll that I mentioned, there are, it says regarding the ceasefire that ended the operation, 55% of the Israeli public said they believe the quiet will last up to a year, while just under a third saying that it will last only a few months. And one thing that this should be able to tell people is that the media is not helping this out a lot, the mainstream media, because they're really not touching on a lot of important issues. They're touching on, I think, what will get them viewers, but not what will end this war and what will end the conflicts. And I'd also would agree that I don't think I can say that I think Israel is just a part-time fixture. I think what needs to happen there is that there need to be some serious talks, and Hamas needs to be approached respectively. Even though there are a lot of bad things happening, they still need to be heard. They need to be, I can just imagine how they're feeling right now. They're probably feeling very disrespected and very in the dark because they haven't had any news time. They haven't had any time to say anything. So if you look at the way they're, and this is just my perception, the way they may be looking at Quranic law, which if you go to the Makasti al-Sharia law, if you look at it, which are the objectives of Islamic law, these people may very well be looking at this as though they are being wronged and that they have the right to go to war. And one part of this is there's no communication going on here. One side is being locked out or the other side being locked out, but the media is definitely not doing any favors with it. So a lot of what needs to go on is a lot of discussion, and a lot of the discussion that is going on be brought out so people see this is happening.
Thank you.